Welcome to Anagomas. We're going to look at 2023 November paper 3H. 2023 November paper 3H. For question number 9, these are some of the things that you need to know. The gradient of a straight line is given by the change in y divided by the change in x, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Sometimes you may remember it as rise over run. So equation of a straight line is y equals to mx plus c. And all you need to do is find m and find c, and you get your equation for your line. Let's start question 9. Question 9, the line L is shown on the grid. So that's the line L there, put in red. Find the equation of the line. So we write y equals to mx plus c. Y is equals to mx plus c. And all we need to do is to find m and find c. To find the gradient, we look at the line. We can go one step right, two down, one right, two down, one right, two down, one right, two down. So the gradient is -2. Or you can draw this blue triangle I've drawn there. That distance is 4, and that distance is 2. 4 divided by 2. Or you can use a bigger triangle, 8 divided by 4. But it's going down from left to right, so it's minus. It's going down from left to right, so it's negative gradient. 1 right, 2 down, 1 right, 2 down, 1 right, 2 down. That gives you the gradient. So m is -2. Now we need to find the intercept c, where it crosses the y-axis. Where I'm circling there, that's where it crosses the y-axis, and c is 3. So c is 3, m is -2, and that's your equation for your line. So for the next question, we need this formula, the area of circle and sector. So the area of a circle is pi radius squared. And the area of a sector, think of a sector as a pizza slice, is the angle divided by 360 times pi radius squared. So it's what fraction of it? So we want to find this angle. So we want to make that angle the subject. So we want to make the angle theta. We represent angle with the letter theta is a Greek letter. So we want to make theta the subject. So we write down the formula. We do the opposite. If we use inverse operations, the opposite of plus, minus, the inverse is minus, times, divide. So we have divide by 360. If we take it to the right, it becomes times 360. It's times pi radius squared. If we take it to the left, it becomes divide by pi radius squared. So what we are doing is we take 360 to the left, it becomes times 360. And then we take pi radius squared to the left, it becomes divide by pi radius squared. So you're left with theta. That's how you make the subject of a formula. We're going to use that for this question. So for question 12, the diagram shows a shaded sector POQ of a circle with center O. So think of it as a complete circle. Think of it as a complete circle. And we want to find that angle there, X. That's what we want to find. So what we want to do is, X is what we want to find. We rearrange that formula. So it would be 360. It will be 360 times the area divided by pi r squared from what we did earlier. So that is the area. And then that is radius squared. For what we did earlier, when you put down your calculator, you get 246. For question 17, we need to know how to complete the square. So this is just a summary of the process to complete the square. There are 5 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can just follow them and you would complete the square. Let's look at this example. We want to complete the square for x squared minus 6x plus 3. The number in front of x is 1. So that means A is 1, B is -6, and C is 3. So let's follow those steps. Step number 1, you draw a pair of brackets containing x with a square inside. So that's step number 1 there. So that's step number 1. Step number 2, insert the sign of B. The sign of B is negative, so we'll put negative. And half the value of B. B is -6, half of 6 is 3. Step number 3, square half of B and subtract it. You square the 3, it becomes 3 squared becomes 9. And you subtract it, so you go -9. And then you add C, C is 3, so you add 3. So -9 plus 3, collect like terms, it gives you -6 there. So that's where we start at the top, and that's where we end. So we're going to use these 5 steps to complete the square for question. So for question 17, we want to write x squared minus 8x plus 3 in that completed square form. So we draw the pair of brackets with x in it and the squared. Put the sign of B. The sign is minus. Half of B, half of 8 is 4. Square it. 4 squared is 16. And then subtract that, so -16, and then we add C, add 3. -16 plus 3 gives you 13. So that's for 2 marks. So we'll follow those 5 steps. Part B, hence write down the coordinates of the turning point on the graph. The coordinates of the turning point, if you follow on that question there, it would be the opposite of minus, will become plus, it will be 4 and -13. So your answer is 4 and -13. So when you complete the square, it tells you the turning point of the graph, 4 and -13. And when you use the graphics calculator to draw it, the turning point, you can see the U shape. The turning point is at the bottom there. So the x value is 4 and the y value is -13. For 17 part B, it says solve x squared plus 8x minus 5 equals to 0. Give your solutions to 3 significant figures. Because they said 3 significant figures, it tells you that it should be decimals, and that means you have to use a calculator. You use a calculator and use a quadratic formula if you want. And if you use a quadratic formula, you will get these 2 answers to 3 significant figures, 0.449 and -1.59. If you don't use a quadratic formula, this is another way you can do it on the calculator. Let me quickly show you how to get that minimum point of 4 and -13 on the calculator. Because it's paper 3, you allow calculators, and in case you don't know how to complete the square. So if you don't know how to complete the square, your calculator will give you that minimum point. So what you do in your calculator, you will choose equations. You go to quadratic. You choose polynomial. Choose equation, polynomial, quadratic. And then you will put those numbers in front. So you put the 8, 3, and you get the first answer. When you press execute, you get that answer. You press execute, you get that answer. You press execute the 3rd time, you get 4, and the next time you get -13. That's a way to get it in an exam. That's like without completing the square. So that's a cheat way to get that answer. So to solve that 17, that part B on the calculator, you would, once you've entered everything in the calculator, you would go to choose. You get that answer, you get that answer, you would choose decimal. So you choose execute number format and choose decimal. And it will give you the -1.59 and 0.449. Those are the 2 answers. And this is not using the quadratic formula. You're not using the quadratic formula. And this is the quadratic formula. This is given in the formula book. You substitute A, B, and C, and you get those answers. For the last part, Alex has to find the solutions of quadratic equations, 3k squared plus 10k minus 8. Here are his working and answer. So he's factorized it. What mistake has Alex made? If you look at the answer, he's got k equals to 2 and k equals to minus 4. Are those correct answers? You can use your calculator to check. When you use quadratic equation solver in your calculator, you will see that k is 2 over 3, 2 over 3, and k is minus 4. So k is minus 4, k is 2 over 3. So you go now and check if the answer is correct. And you will see that Alex has made a mistake. The answer x equals to 2 is wrong. It should be 2 over 3. And that's 1 mark. And you could choose any of these answers to write, but just say the answer is 2 over 3. And that's all that question 17. So question 17, you can do it all with a calculator. All with a calculator and get all the marks. All together is 7 marks. All using your calculator, 7 marks. It's very important to know how to use your calculator. And it will save you time in exams. If you use a calculator, you go faster.